Perfect song for this. 9:29 now, and for such tiny creatures, hummingbirds attract a huge amount of attention. But we still have a lot to learn about these fascinating animals, and that's where a local woman known as the Hummingbird Whisperer comes in. She'll be at Kennesaw's Smith Gilbert Gardens this weekend for a special event. And Good Day Lettuce Paul Milliken is live there this morning, and that is the place to be if you want to see some hummingbirds, right, Paul?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good morning, Elise. And you know what? I've done a lot of really neat things on live television. You know that. I'm very lucky. This is easily in the top 5. I have never been this close to a hummingbird. It is the coolest experience, and it's something you can only experience in person. So you have to come to Smith Gilbert Gardens in Kennesaw on Saturday morning, and you will get this close to these fascinating creatures, which, by the way, there's a penny next to it. They weigh what a penny weighs. So imagine a penny in the palm of your hand. That's the same as having a hummingbird in the palm of your hand. Really cool stuff. This is Ann, the executive director of this beautiful spot. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, Paul. It's great to have you here today.
I'm so glad to be back. I love Smith Gilbert Gardens. For folks who haven't been here before, give us the rundown. What do you have here?
Well, it's a beautiful 16-acre garden. We're owned by the city of Kennesaw. We're just off Cobb Parkway on Pine Mountain Road. We're open to the public Tuesday to Saturday, 9 to 4. We have 16 acres, as I mentioned. It's filled with plants. There's a woodland garden. We have an incredible bonsai collection. We have a rock garden with a water feature and the only crevice garden in the state of Georgia.
Fantastic. So much to see. And as I said last hour, a lot of hummingbirds. You stand in this spot and look back. There's several feeders. They're everywhere here. And that brings us to Saturday morning. What's happening?
So this is our biggest event. It's one of the most exciting things we do at the garden. It's one of my favorite events, as you can see with the hummingbirds.
Oh, yeah.
So Julia Elliott will be here, our Hummingbird Whisperer, from 8 to 11. Parking is at Adams Park. We're running shuttles all morning long. People can come out and learn about these amazing birds, as well as we'll have Shep here, the world's smallest ambassador. And we'll also have a rehab person who rehabs owls and hawks.
Oh, how cool. How cool. Really perfect for all ages. So, Julia, I have to ask you a question. Just a second ago, we saw you blowing with a straw onto this hummingbird. So what were you doing right there?
When I'm blowing with the straw, I'm actually parting the feathers on the body, and I'm looking for fat. So these birds are getting ready to head to Mexico and Central America for the winter. And to get there, to survive that very long journey, they put on fat. So you mentioned before, most of these birds weigh as much as a penny. This particular bird that I just weighed, instead of 3 grams, weighs 5 grams.
Ooh, all right.
So, and I've caught them up to 6, so they can double.
He's like the Paul Milliken of hummingbirds. He had a few too many donuts this morning, and he's putting on his weight.
Lots of donuts, lots of sugar water, lots of bugs.
So how did you become a hummingbird bander? You were saying before, this is really something you only become by just doing it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I met up with a group that banded on the Gulf Coast that banded hummingbirds, and sort of works like an apprenticeship program. So you begin the process of learning how to handle birds first, and then you learn how to, you will sit and take data for someone who's banding, and then eventually they'll put you in the bander's chair and slowly work your way up to being able to band the birds yourself.
And so all the data you're collecting, what happens to that?
The data goes to the bird banding laboratory in Maryland. So that's a clearinghouse of all data. All banders in the U.S. have to report all of their data to the lab.
You told me something earlier that I wanted to make sure to say on TV, because this was so interesting. Now, I've had a few hummingbird feeders in the past, and I think I've always had red nectar in it, and you said that you should go for clear nectar, right?
Definitely want clear nectar. Red food coloring has been recalled for human consumption. A 3-gram bird does not need red food coloring. You can make your own nectar. It's a 4-to-1 ratio, so 4 parts water, 1 part sugar, and it should be white, refined table sugar. You don't want brown sugar, organic sugar, no honey, white table sugar.
Yeah. So you also said, and this makes sense, it's common sense, but the more hummingbird feeders you have, the more hummingbirds you're going to get to your house.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. The garden started with 2 or 3 feeders, and now how many do we have? 6, 7?
Yeah, and there are hummingbirds everywhere.
Have built every year. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, cannot wait to see you Saturday morning. Look at that little guy right here. You want to let him go? We'll let him go on live TV. We'll put him on the palm. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, we'll put it on the palm of my hand. Here, watch this, Elise. This little guy's just... He's about 2 pennies, I'd say. He's a little heavier. He's about 2 pennies.
2 pennies, huh?
Oh, wow. You feel this heart racing. It's like a little motor inside. That is incredible. This is, what an amazing experience. I'm telling you, one of the coolest things I have ever done on television. You guys have to come here on Saturday morning. That was amazing.
Agree. It's like we're getting to see the gentler side of Paul. This is different. This is definitely different. He's tender.
What do you mean gentler side? That's the real Paul that you're seeing, okay? It's the real me.
All right. We'll let you keep hanging it out there, Paul. Thank you. Well, the 8th annual Hummingbird banding event takes place this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tickets are $7 in advance, $10 the day of the event. Smith Gilbert Gardens is located at 2382 Pine Mountain Road in Kennesaw.